Get yourself a pile of hot dogs while we talk.
Initial thoughts. Part 1. The initial thoughts. Part 1. The initial thoughts.
Welcome back, Protostar kids young and old, as Prodigy resumes its Season 1 a year after it first premiered, with Episode 11, Asylum. This kid show continues to impress me, though this episode is pretty much set up for the rest of the season. We're dropped into our wannabe Starfleet officers bending the Prime Directive by saving an endangered whale-like creature from a group of mermaid hunters. I've got a like for the vehicle replicator being perhaps the most interesting enabling concept since the transporter's inception way back at the beginning of Star Trek. In just 11 episodes, this thing has been used 3 times already to keep ideas fresh in a ton of situations. There's a few nods here to the one with the whales as they beam up this pregnant aquathon and relocate it to safer waters. This is all in an attempt to try and show Starfleet that they're worthy of acceptance and set a course for the Federation's furthest comm relay station. It's manned by just one slightly off individual that for some reason appears to have both enlisted field promotion rank and proper lieutenant pips. I had a good chuckle at him calling his posting the final frontier, with the follow-up punchline about not wanting to be sent to Nimbus 3 from that movie, and I'll give a like for trying to compete with Lower Decks in the satirical callback department, as we get an episode of both today. He also makes a quick callback later to the Horta from Devil in the Dark. As he processes them officially into the Federation, we learn some interesting things about our characters, as they learn about themselves. The most interesting being that Murph is a melanoid slime worm. This is a callback to an insult as part of Wesley Crusher's Academy entrance back in Coming of Age, when Rodon calls him that, trying to provoke a culturally appropriate response, and I've got a gooey blue like. Gwyn's species is unknown, while Dolls triggers a directive to report to Starfleet Command. The next like comes as Janeway watches a holo of the christening of the Protostar. Even though Robert Beltran no longer sounds a lot like Chakotay, this was a really nicely done callback to Star Trek Generations christening the Enterprise B. But for a kids show, the bottle is literally nondescript, and even freeze-framing and zooming in only reveals that the text are just lines. So no Chateau Picard for the kids at home. Back on the relay station, I've got a dislike. Why would this relay station with one person have a better sickbay than an experimental ship that's headed for hostile deep space? Either way, Zero uses it to try and retrieve some of Gwyn's memories lost to seeing its true form earlier in the season. With the exceptions of the whales in the start of this, most of this episode feels like it's just reminding us of what happened previously. And while this is nice after a long break, it's likely to feel like a filler episode when binge watching in the future. And that's another dislike for me. At least it's good fun for the kids as Pog sits down to a pile of giant sausages because heck yeah! When the Protostar's logs are accessed, it spells the end of Relay Station 721, as the Diviner's revenge from the grave infects it and turns the station's weapons on itself. This forces the Lieutenant to use the only escape pod, while the Protostar crew use these EV suits that must perfectly conform to the exact size of the wearer off-screen. And they do a spacewalk back to the Protostar. Though her calculations are a smidge off, considering it's under do-or-die conditions, I've got a like for Rock Talk taking a step towards being a science officer, after spending an unknown possible lifetimes studying tech manuals. She's definitely my favorite character, and I love furthering her story. Gwyn starts to remember parts of the Diviner's plan to weaponize the Protostar against the Federation in retribution for a perceived past aggression. We rejoin Janeway and her crew having stumbled on the now-abandoned Tars Lamora prison, where they apparently dumped the Diviner's body, and he's not fully dead. It's a pretty solid setup for the back half of Season 1. We've known for a while that Jason Alexander was going to have a recurring role in the show, and is credited in this episode, but I'm unclear who his character is. Is he one of Janeway's crew and didn't get a speaking role? Let me know in the comments if you know the answer to this. A good start back after a long lag time in the season, and I can't wait to see what shenanigans the Protostar kids will get into while they, for now, have to avoid the Federation. Till next week, I've been your host, Dustin Wing.